HardParkingPodcast, brought to you by Right Honda out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I am your host, Jay Finning. Coming up in just a few minutes, Nick Keck in studio. He joined the show a few episodes ago as part of the Q&A segment. Now you get to hear a little bit more about him and his vehicle and kind of what he's done with himself during the pandemic era as the world seems to start to get back to normal. Hell, man, we're running up to almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in a few months of this whole thing. Also want to get into a little bit of car news. I think I'm going to jump into my random thought of the week right now. I recently saw Eternals. I thought the movie was actually pretty good. It wasn't great, but it didn't suck. I think it's the lowest rated MCU movie so far. And I don't understand why. Maybe some of the critics can't handle two guys kissing each other on screen. There was a borderline sex scene. Some will say it was a sex scene. You didn't see penetration. You didn't see boobies. You saw toplessness and some assumed action. And then it changed. But that was a first for the MCU. But actually, my observation is actually kind of about movies. So listen to the radio the other day. Sometimes I like to listen to kind of the throwback stuff. And by like throwback, I'm talking like 80s and 90s rock. They used to make songs specifically for movies, like Ghostbusters. I think I was listening to a Ghostbusters song. Ray Parker Jr., who you going to call Ghostbusters? Footloose, Top Gun, even Back to the Future. Kenny Loggins is rich, by the way. He's got to be rich. And all those songs for the movies are radio hits, for us back in the day at least. I mean, Ghostbusters is cheesy as fuck. But now it's all just music scores. Like unrecognizable unless you only saw the movie. Or like me, pay attention to those kind of things. So I can listen to something like, hey, this song was in a movie. But sometimes you forget a song was in the movie unless you check out the soundtrack and you're like, hey, this song was in that movie. So it's kind of one of those things. I know some of the MCU movies you can say, okay, well, those songs are made specifically for the movies, but a lot of those songs, I don't hear them on the radio. I mean, they're real songs, but I don't hear them on the radio. I mean, with the exception of Black Panther, you got Kendrick Lamar. I mean, he is basically the Black Panther soundtrack. And you hear the main song on the radio. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Gonna get to some car news before we get to Nick Keck. So Bo Allen Jung, recent in-studio guest, has finally decided on which vehicle he's going to buy. Remember, he was looking between all the Porsches and NSX, a Lotus. But if you want to know what he bought, you have to follow him on Instagram. Vajazzle McDilder Tits. Vajazzle McDilder Tits. That's VAJAZZLE MCDILDERTITS. Vajazzle McDilder Tits. Another news, as I said on the last episode, which by the way, Kenny Tran, Joe Tech Motorsports, please go back and listen to that episode. How remarkable it is for him to have kept this business for well over 20 years. But his immigration story with his family getting separated and coming to the United States, I find incredibly inspirational. I think it's a good way to kind of ground yourself. When you think you have it bad, it could always be worse. The immigration system needs reform. But as I said in that episode, it's easy for people to say things should be a certain way. It's a lot harder to get them that way because there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of things that have to happen when nobody seems to have the perfect solution. So anyway, last weekend I went off-roading with my vehicle, as I'd mentioned before. I think I'm going to turn the Infiniti into some sort of first I want to do like an off-road trail thing because in my opinion, the car is more than capable as long as it can clear shit. Also, I need to get clear vinyl wrap, PPF protection wrap on the sides of my Infiniti because I had to brush up against a lot of branches. It was either that or run over these giant rocks, blow out a tire, or roll off the cliff. It was one of those ordeals. But other than that, I want to do kind of an off-road build for the Infiniti. I think it'd be really cool. Rally inspired, maybe lift it 1 or 2 inches, get much smaller rims, but much bigger tires. I think I could do it. So if you guys have any hookups, let me know. Certainly 4Wheel Online is somewhere I'm going to for some of that stuff, but they don't have every wheel that I would want. They have a lot of off-roading stuff, but it's going to require some fabrication. If you're in the Phoenix area and you know someone who can fabricate a dust shield. Is it dust shield? What's the underbody thing to protect my oil pan? a rock shield. I don't know. This is new to me. They can fabricate something like that, metal, put it on my vehicle. I'm not trying to spend thousands of dollars for some shit, but I think it'd be really cool. And nobody else is doing it. My goal is to have the baddest Infiniti FX on the planet. Okay. Maybe in Arizona. If I can have the baddest Infiniti FX in Arizona, there's a few wheel manufacturers I'm looking at. Got to get permission from my wife. I think she'll say no. I always try to sneak purchases. I think we all try to do that. I do have my own bank account. I get an allowance every week. So maybe I can do something with that. And that is your car news for this week. After this word from 4 Wheel Online, we'll get to just the tip, Nick. Jay Finning here, and I want to tell you guys about 4 Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4 Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. The truck products cover everything you need to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. And if you need a tire and wheel package, head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. So visit them online at 4Wheel Online or call them at 813-769-2451. Again, that's 4Wheel Online, the number 4 Wheel Online. Time for the Arizona Ride of the Week, brought to you by Higher Quality Detail. They specialize in premium vehicle protection solutions and cosmetic customizations as your one-stop shop, ranging from basic detailing options through ceramic coating, paint correction, protection films, and more. Visit Ceramic Pro Arizona, one word, on Instagram, or Higher Quality Detail. That's HYER. Also one word. Get started looking your best today. Today's guest is Just the Tip, Nick, back on the show. Nick, who do you work for?
Higher Quality Detail.
You do, but they did not send you. You're here on your own accord. I would ask you if you could validate everything that I just read, but that might be a conflict of interest. So moving forward, welcome. Welcome back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get into some fun stuff about life and everything, tell us a little bit about your reside and your vehicle history, because I've known you for 7 years-ish.
Give or take.
And you've had several different vehicles, all of them fast, but not all of them the same. So
Correct.
What's your addiction to crazy horsepower?
I don't know. It started. Nobody in my family were car enthusiasts by any means, but growing up in Lansing, Michigan, being raised around General Motors, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, like everybody had cars. Everybody had American cars. Yeah, it was funny because I tell people to this day, like growing up, my friends would have Honda Civics. I'm like, oh, Dad, I'm going to get a Honda Civic. It's like, you bring a Honda Civic to this house, you can go live somewhere else.
Right.
He was like, the big three put food on our table, not Honda. And I'd always hear loud cars with big cams and no exhaust. And nowadays probably would sound horrible to me. But back then I'm like, man, it's got to be fast. Right. It sounds fast. It's got to be fast. And I was into like lowered vehicles in my early years. And then I got into a Pontiac Grand Prix. A 2001 Grand Prix GT, and a friend of mine that was like, you can make those fast, right? There's a company out of Grand Rapids, Michigan called ZZ Performance, which is now huge.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah. When I first met them, Zoomer, the owner, Yuzuma Awagawu, he was building...
Yuzuma what?
Yuzuma Awagawu.
Okay. I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
But...
everybody just calls him Zoomer or Zoom.
Of course, yeah.
But he's out of Grand Rapids, and he had a Grand Prix GTP that he put a pulley on the blower and intake and went 12s back in 1999, and we thought it was the fastest thing in the world.
It is, yeah. That was really fast.
And a front-wheel drive sedan. It was crazy. So he just started a whole niche market with Grand Prix, the W bodies, because the 3800 platform. Later to find out that GM had put that 3800 Series 2 in 25 million vehicles. So it was a dime a dozen to get one. But took the Grand Prix, ended up making it pretty fast, put a blower on it, eventually a turbo, and I just got bit by the bug and just wanted fast. Every car I drove it like it was a race car, so I might as well make them into a race car.
Sure.
But since knowing you, I've had a GTO, a 15 EcoBoost Mustang, a 16 5-liter Mustang, a Hellcat. What else? Am I missing?
I don't know if I got to see your Hellcat.
That didn't stick around long.
Yeah.
That was more of I bought for a very low price and was able to sell it for a decent profit.
Was it white?
It was a white Charger.
You had it when you were in Queen Creek, or you mean you're still in
Yeah,
Queen
I'm
Creek?
still out there. Yeah. It was a white 15 Charger that had a Arrington 426 stroker motor in it. Made 1,080 to the tires on stock blower. Ended up selling it to a guy out in Kansas City. They put a Whipple on it. It now makes just shy of 1,400 horsepower. But yeah, previous to that was like the 5-liter Mustang, my 16. That was more show and go. That was built for like SEMA as we went together. But that had a ProCharger D1 SC blower on it. Fuel system made just over 800. But it got rid of that. I had an allocation on a C8 Corvette. Had a guy reach out to me, was like, I will give you $40,000 cash for your allocation. So I sold it to him.
Of course.
Yeah, it was stupid to keep it. So go ahead, I'll take your cash.
Yep.
Ended up buying the Hellcat, sold that, and then waited for something. And I really wanted a turnkey 9-second car. Shopped around. I was looking at RS3s. I was looking at Q50s and Q60s from Infiniti. And I wanted a sedan. I like sedans.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine had mentioned a G8, which a G8 was one of my dream cars, but I couldn't find a clean one out here.
It's a nice car. They're hard to find.
Yeah, we have one at the shop right now, actually. 09 GXP with 20,000 miles on it. One owner. Beautiful car. But yeah, shopped around and then started looking at the SS. I talked to the guy that's did all the work on this car for me, Mario Mika with Mika Motorsports. And I was like, how much am I looking financially to put a SS into the 9s? He was like, 20,000. I was like, all right, that's doable. Let's make that happen. Bought the car. Pandemic hit. And it couldn't ship out for 2 months. But I ordered all the parts, blower, cam, fuel system, meth injection, headers, exhaust, everything. Had 20 grand in parts sitting in my living room waiting for a car for 2 months. Finally got the car, sent it over to Mario, and he knocked it out in a week. And ever since then, the car has just been a rocket. You know, we did all of our stuff at the shop for protection and coating and all that kind of stuff. And it's just an absolutely beautiful car that's quick. It's real quick.
Well, fun fact, and not with that car, but somewhere deep in my Instagram is a video from my Alcam of you blowing my doors off one night when we were driving up to 60. And so I like to post, obviously, pictures of me blowing other people's doors off. But that time I was like, you know what? It's a buddy of mine. We were just going for fun. I knew I had no chance. Did not expect to have negative chance. And that was pretty fun. And that was the 550?
That was the Mustang that made a little over 800.
Yeah, and that's where it had kind of the exotic black and white graphic.
Yeah, I had my SEMA wrap on it, which was a very like custom printed wrap.
Yeah. So what do you do right now? You're at Higher Quality Detail. You've been there for a while. You've been there through the pandemic era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how has the pandemic era treated that industry? Won't specifically say that business, but that industry.
We thrived. For the first, when it initially happened, we had about a 2-3 week, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And things kind of came to a stop. But that's when all the auto manufacturers started doing 0% financing, 72 months, 84 months. There's new cars on the road. There's new cars to be protected. So everybody just started coming to us, and we just blew up. We have a huge name in the Tesla community out here, which is about 40%, if not more, of our work. I mean, on a typical day when we're busy, 5 to 7 Teslas are dropped off. Brand new, under 20 miles. So as long as we're seeing a little bit of a hit with a lot of cars right now with the chip shortage, but Tesla doesn't seem to be impacted by that too much. Mm-hmm. So they're steadily pumping them out, which is keeping us doing very well. And then once they hit like that towards the end of the quarter kind of dump on their numbers, we're just slammed. So yeah, the pandemic has been great for us in a lot of ways.
How about for you personally? You know,
honestly,
when people being stuck at home and shit last year, not this year. Nobody cares this year.
Yeah. I'm a very introverted person, so it really didn't impact me as a whole. The only thing it really impacted was no car events. That's the only time I typically leave the house is Cars and Coffee or Scottsdale Pavilions. Shutting down pavilions was a big hit to like my life. I mean, it's I don't know if it's sad to say, but I mean, being a car enthusiast like Scottsdale Pavilions, I don't go to bars. I don't go out. I go to a car event. And if I can go to a car event every Saturday that has 200 to 400 cars and people out there just talking, I love that. Yeah. I don't care what they drive. Yeah. I'm out there just to meet new people. And I love that. And when that was taken away with the pandemic, that hurt.
Well, it's like, Mimi was on here recently and we talked about that. For some people, that is their escape from everything else during the week.
Absolutely.
A car meet. It's not going out, hanging out with friends, going to the bar, none of that stuff. Like, that is your escape. And if you take your escape away, what is there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like you can, go to the gym instead. I mean, everything was taken away. But yeah, it definitely was a huge impact on me in that side of things. But overall, not really. It kind of hurt because I don't really cook. So I couldn't go out to eat as much as I wanted, but I switched from Red Robin to McDonald's, so it ended up working out.
What are your thoughts on Tesla? For me, I've never driven one.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really had an opportunity to drive one, but I'm doing the whole kid playing video game thing where, you read a lot, you see a lot without experiencing it. So you form your opinions. And my opinion on the matter is Teslas are fantastic transportation devices. Seems like they're just nothing but really point and shoot vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't talk to their build quality. I know that a journalist kind of tore them up a little bit, and the entire Tesla nation reamed him a new one, which is something weird in itself as well. The steering wheel it's in the plaid. Yoke. Okay.
The yoke.
With the yoke. A lot of people, he'd written that the yoke is kind of not a good thing in the Tesla crowd. They just brute force attacked all his social media and were blowing up all his videos in a negative way. So with that being said, what's your opinion on Teslas?
So I understand the issue with the steering wheel and the plaid like that. It is very poor design for, you can't make an evasive maneuver. That's the biggest thing that scares me is if somebody pulled out in front of me, there's a good chance I'm not going to prevent it because of the lack of steering wheel. But I know Elon is trying to go hands off he's focusing more towards the self-driving, so you don't necessarily need a full steering wheel. I think that steering wheel in the Plaid is very premature. He should have waited a little bit. Now, as a whole, with Tesla, been behind the wheel of thousands of them. I can't say I've actually driven. I've never put like tens of hundreds of miles on them, but I drive them to and from around the shop in the area. I think they're great A to B cars. Amazing.
Right.
The technology is absolutely amazing. Build quality is very, very subpar. And I don't think it's for lack of caring or lack of trying. I think Elon is doing everything he can to try to make these cars affordable for everybody. So if he has to skimp out on quality of paint or quality of interior or pieces or what he's using to make that.
I mean, do you think like the average Tesla owner or the aspiring Tesla owner even cares? Like they want something from point A to point B that makes a statement, is not going to just fall apart on them, I think. What are your thoughts on that?
It's hit or miss. Because we see a lot of Tesla customers that I have to explain to them at work, like, listen, like you bought the technology of Tesla. You did not buy the hundreds of years of auto manufacturing like a Ford.
Mm.
So you need to understand what you're getting into. You're getting into a great piece of technology that's far superior to anybody else, but the build quality is what is it? What are you looking at? Like 8-year-old company in auto manufacturing. So it's not there.
Yeah.
Most of the customers understand. They've done their research. They've looked into it. They understand that. But then there's some people that are like, this is the first $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 car they've ever purchased. We had a gentleman come in that retired from the city out here, and he used his retirement to buy a Model S. And he was like, hey, like, this is wrong. And we're like, those are common issues with Tesla. What can I do about it? Not much.
Right.
So that's some of the thing that some people run into.
Clear bra on it.
Right, yeah. Put clear bra on it, ceramic coat it, make it look great.
Yep.
But there's a lot of issues with most people do the research. In today's day, everybody's got a smartphone in their hand. They can look up and read Facebook groups. They tell you everything about the cars. So most people go in with the knowledge of what they're getting into. But it's the once in a while when you deal with a person that doesn't, that it really it hurts you a little bit inside. Because this person just spent $80,000 on a car that there's a panel gap that you can fit your hand through.
Do you think that we can make full EV vehicles? I'm going to use the word fun, and that's hard to really describe, or hard to really summarize, like painting a large group with a big stroke. But I think that's the most common thing that people say about driving any EV is it's good point and shoot, but it doesn't feel like anything, and that represents a very small percentage of the population of people who actually care. It's like the people who complain that there's no 6-speed manual in a car. I mean, That's very few people on the grand scale of sales. But, what do you think that they would have to do? I mean, you're someone who you love combustion, internal combustion, you love high horsepower, you love that loud scream of the big V8s.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to see done in these type of vehicles to kind of deliver something like that to you, if anything?
I don't think it can be done. I really don't. I think it's its own market. Sadly, I think that's where we're headed, faster than we'd like to see. But I don't think you can make an EV fun. Because if you can, Elon just did it with the Plaid. I mean, 1,000 horsepower car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as fast as it's going to get. I mean, I'm sure you can go faster, but I'm saying that is fast.
That is fast, yeah.
Like to hand to the average Joe on the street, I think we need to focus on throttling them down. I don't think Joe Schmo that goes in there and has never had a race car in his life now has a 1,000 horsepower car that makes no noise. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if I'm driving down the street and he floors it, I didn't hear him go by. Easily could have clipped it. Like it's almost like a crotch rocket. Same thing. You don't hear it until it's on you.
Yep.
So that's one of the things that I worry about, but I don't think you can make them fun. It's just not there.
I mean, I guess for most people that is fun going wee like a roller coaster. But even in a roller coaster, you hear, you feel the it feels like it could fall apart at any second.
Right.
Right. And that's part of it.
You don't hear people on a cruise talk about like when their stomach flops like that being fun.
It's not fun at all. Yeah.
Because you don't feel it. You're on a boat that's just floating.
And then you feel it for the next 3 days after the cruise is over.
Right.
Laying in your bed. What are your thoughts on, like, I don't really talk politics on this show, but as a veteran, military veteran, compared 21 to 20 to 19, like I think I've touched on this a little bit on the show, where this year was supposed to be so much different for people that just expected that. To me, as someone who doesn't really lean one or the other, I always say I'm like an alien in space and I'm just observing.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see things changing that much because, as we talked about before when you were on the Q&A segment, we're all trying to still figure all this out as we go. I mean, if you could fix the world, what would you do? If you could fix the United States, if you think it's broken, what would you do?
I would get rid of having one man or woman call the shots. Like I know we have Congress and it's not just one person, but having one single leader, I don't think I've never agreed with that. I thought that was stupid.
Like a presidential thing. But
right.
It sounds like you're almost saying that's a dictatorship. But I think that and you're not, but
right.
But we have Congress, but sometimes it feels like the president is just their CEO, and they're answering to the board of directors, which is Congress.
Right.
Maybe a more transparent system, right?
Oh,
Because there's so many hidden agendas, and I think that's what people don't trust, because it's like, how do you control the information?
How do we know what's real? Like it's,
right.
And that's the thing is that just bothers me. That's why I don't really focus on the news. I don't swing a certain way politically. I've always voted for who I felt was best for the country at that point in time.
Right.
And in my years of voting, I voted for Democrat, I voted for Republican. I've done both because I felt at this time we need this person in office. At this time we need that person in office. So yeah, I've always steered away from politics as much as possible. Now I feel like it's even the people that want to stay away from politics are being forced into it. You're forced to, you have to pick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you don't follow the news or anything. Who did you pick? Well,
Right.
I don't know. You have to pick. You got to pick somebody. And
if you pick this person, you're this type of person. If you pick that person, you're that type of person, right?
Absolutely. I mean, even in my home, I was renting out a room. I had a young lady reach out to me that was interested in renting the room. And before she got to my house, she said, "Who did you vote for?" That was her deciding factor if she was interested based on who I voted for.
Sad. It's a very sad state of mind to be in, I think. And there's probably people listening to this that are like that. And I said that and I put my name to it. If you don't like it, HardParkingPodcast@gmail.com. But it's a sad state of affairs when you're judging your next move based on the political leaning of whomever that next move is going to be with.
Right. Like, when did it be so wrong to have an opinion or have your own beliefs?
About 5 years ago.
Yeah. That's what I just don't understand is, I mean, I think it even goes back further. I mean, you talk about back with the Middle Eastern, like everybody's like, oh, every Muslim's a terrorist. I grew up in Michigan, and it's primarily, it's a very large portion of that state is Muslim.
Over in the Detroit area for sure.
Yeah. And I've never, to my knowledge, I've never met a terrorist, but I know a lot of Muslims. But
they're sneaky good at what they do.
Yeah. And it's, now you're not allowed to have an opinion or be a certain race. You can't be an individual anymore. You have to be what everybody wants you to be or what they say is okay to be. And that's what I struggle with.
I'm going to ask you a deep question based on something you just said. And the question just came to me because of what you just said. Have you ever felt in the past few years, is it shameful? Is there white shame? Is it shameful to be white or to feel like there's something wrong because you're white?
I've never felt that. I've learned that white privilege is a thing, 100%. If anybody says white privilege is not a thing, they're a bold-faced liar.
Or they just don't see or understand.
Yeah,
right?
It's because it is. I've seen friends of other races or ethnicities or other religion backgrounds purely be treated different because of that. I can go being blonde hair, blue eye, white man, veteran in the state of Arizona. I'm get out of jail free anywhere I go. I've been pulled over for speeding, driving in the HOV lane. Oh, you're a veteran. Have a great day. Oh, just have a great day. Don't do it again.
Yeah.
But I also know friends of mine that I'm like, wow, why have you had to deal with this? And it's because of race or financial. They're driving a cheaper car, a less pleasant looking car, and that
a beater,
and that could be their downfall. And it's but I can't say that I feel bad or have ever had the idea where we're like, man, like it's bad to be white.
Yeah. I mean, I could see people coming through, even if it's temporary, it's like, man, this sucks. Everybody looks at me, thinks I'm this or thinks that and that, or I'm judging them more,
Mm-hmm. But I've definitely come across where there's certain things that I'm like, well, I can't do this because like I can't put, I don't know, for instance, I couldn't put like a Trump sticker on my vehicle because now I'm a racist.
Now you're a racist, yeah.
Right. Even though if that's who I'm voting for or if I'm not voting for, if I put that on my vehicle, I'm instantly, he's a racist, he's an idiot, he's an anti-vaxxer, like I'm instantly put into that category. Maybe I just think the guy's funny. Maybe I want to vote for him because I like his tweets.
Right.
So, I mean, that's...
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, there's certain things you just can't do because people will judge you. And then, it's easy for people to say, well, I don't care about that, but it subconsciously hits you. We got to run, get out of here. Nick, I want to thank you for coming by. Let everyone know how to get a hold of you again real quick, please.
Again, if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on Instagram at JustTheTip with 2 P's.
Nick, thanks for coming through.
Thanks
we'll
for having
do
me.
it again, man.
Absolutely.
I want to thank Just the Tip Nick for coming in studio and sharing his cool car story. Make sure you guys follow him. That's Just the Tip on Instagram. This next weekend, I'll be going to Elite Tuner. That is November 20th. That is one of my last events of the year. I'm actually sharing a table with Right Honda. So we'll be there. If you're local to Arizona, local to Phoenix, make sure you guys come out and support. Every hard parking shirt that we sell is going to 100% go to Reach Out Worldwide, which is the Paul Walker Foundation for Fuel Fest. Cody Walker and them boys, Fuel Fest, December 4th. Again, next weekend, November 20th, come to the Right Honda, One Auto, Hard Parking Media booth and pick up your shirt. It'll be $20, super high quality. 100% of those sales will go to Reach Out Worldwide Foundation. See you guys at Elite Tuner on Saturday. I want to thank Right Honda out of Scottsdale, Arizona, higher quality detail at Tempe, Arizona, boosterbath.com, fullonline.com, tonguetrees.com, and Cell Shop Wireless Services, The Credit Mix, and Patreon business supporter Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida. Also got to thank the personal Patreons, Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Grays, Byron Jones, and Bo Jung. If you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, join the Patreon for as low as $3 a month and get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. If you're interested in picking up a Hard Parking Podcast shirt, email the show or send a message on any of the social media platforms that you find me or the show, or reach out to Right Honda. You can email me at hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at jfinning, that's JHAEPFENNING, or JTravels, that's JHE_travels. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. We won't bite because we can't see you. I might bite. Hard Parking Media Facebook page, YouTube, Hard Parking Podcast. Might even be Hard Parking Media. Not sure. But one thing I do know is I can't grow without you telling the world how great this show is. So let's do this. Let's grow this thing together, and I will talk to you all next week.
Now it's stripping time.
Shut up!
Hey, this is Levi Epps, hashtag Mr. Financial Freedom of The Credit Mix, here with a special offer for Hard Parking Podcast fans. If you've been living with less than perfect credit for having evictions, late payments, bankruptcies, doesn't matter what it is. If it's something that negatively impacts your credit score and you're not able to get approvals for certain things, or maybe you got to pay large deposits and high interest rates, we don't want that to be you anymore. We have a program that will legally get negative items off of your credit report and keep them off. And we have a special code for a free consultation to see if we can help you. Text HP Credit to 737-4CREDIT. That's HP Credit to 737-427-3348. Let's get you back on the road to financial freedom.
Are you tired of your dog losing its cool in a thunderstorm or fireworks? You might want to look at Tongue Treats. TongueTreats.com. High anxiety relief, pain relief, inflammation relief. It's a direct connection between the tongue and the brain. Doesn't waste time going down to the stomach, where it gets broken down, enters the bloodstream, then to the brain eventually. By then, little Izzy, my dog, has been hiding under the house for like 20 minutes. The Tongue Treat CBD strips provide rapid results for your pet with the right amount of CBD, which is not psychoactive. It's important to test and verify your pet is getting the proper dosage. A single strip should be enough. Have doubts? There's certified analysis from a lab available on the website. Think about it. Efficacy and economy. Tongue Treats.